What's good, y'all? We back like bra straps. Want to let y'all know we're doing 3 days of draft coverage this year. Last year we only did 2 days, but we're doing all 3. So every single pick, there's going to be some analysis, some kind of reaction, some kind of joke maybe, because it's going to be a real cool, relaxed stream on day 3. But pretty fun show we had last year, man. Should be even better this year since we have the technology to produce like we want to. We're going to do a pregame show, 15 minutes. Then we're also going to do postgame show till I'm tired of talking to y'all, where the phone lines are going to be lit so you can call in and give your reaction to the guys that you took for your team. All right, so be sure to sub and turn the notification bell on so you know when we go live and all that good stuff. Let's get into these rankings though. We got offensive line today. We got a top 15. Now, how this is going to work is I like to do top 15 offensive linemen, not tackles, not guards, not centers, because I like to just give a comprehensive feel about what I think about the player. You know what I mean? To where, you know, some of these guys can play guard, tackle, and center. And I will forecast where I think these guys are going to end up playing. But sometimes the player's just better. You know, you can evaluate player by player who's going to be better. Like Jalen Ramsey is better than Blake Bortles, right? They play 2 totally different positions, but one player is better than the other. I can do that same thing with offensive line. I think you can too. So that was a pretty drastic example, but let's get started. Top 15. Our 15th guy, Voch Lombardi, right there off the rip. Interior offensive line. This guy's incredible. Nah, I'm playing. Shouts out to Voch though. But now, real 15, we're going to go James Hudson from Cincinnati. All right, pretty fun guy to watch. Pretty good movement, pretty good athlete, pretty good body type or whatnot. I think he plays pretty physical. I wish he just had more technique. I wish he put things together a little better, right? Wish he had a little more polish. But just as of the player, he's one of those ball of clay type players, but his floor is high enough to where you can just kind of play him. But I do think that he has a lot of room to grow. And that's a good thing, right? That's a good thing when you have a ceiling that's good enough to go, but you have a lot more room, just room to improve there. So shouts out to James Hudson there, Senior Bowl guy. And I really like senior football players. They just older. They just been in the game longer. They know the little tricks that these redshirt sophomores don't know because they've been playing much, much longer than them. James Hudson is my 15 guy. Why do I have Sam Cosmi ranked over James Hudson? Sam Cosmi from Texas. I just think Sam is a little more polished, right? And that's a word you're gonna hear me say a lot because with O-line, you know, without getting too technical and too nuanced, I mean, you're either going to be a better run player, a better pass player. You're probably going to be better technical. You're probably going to be better physically. But what's really going to separate guys is polish, right? And definitely when we get to the top of this thing, and if y'all been following me for a long time, y'all know who my tackle number 1 is. You said in the chat box right now. I'm sure you know who my guy is. But my O-line number 1 guy is there because of his polish, and that's how you separate these guys, right? Cosmi got a little more polish than Hudson. Cosmi also plays, in my mind, with a little more toughness. Now, Cosmi can be stronger. I wish Cosmi was a little more stronger, right? If you remember Connor Williams coming out of Texas, and this isn't a comp, but Connor Williams coming out of Texas was a very nasty player to where he would finish these blocks. He would drive people into the ground, put knees in the ribs and all that kind of stuff. But when you get to the league, you need to have that different level of power. I don't think Sam got that power right now, but you know, when you eat those National Football League peanut butter sandwiches, you just grow a little big and stronger. Hopefully that happens with Sam Cosmi. Then we got Jaylen Mayfield from Michigan, right? Let me rewind. So James Hudson is going to play tackle for you. Sam Cosmi is going to play tackle for you. Jaylen Mayfield is probably going to jump off the board playing tackle, but may end up playing guard in a long run. Now, which one is going to be better for him? It's interesting, right? It's interesting because I think he's in a very peculiar, situation or whatever. First of all, Jalen Mayfield, I got him ranked over Sam Cosmi because I just think Jalen Mayfield is more polished, more consistent. You just see him beating better blocks, or beating defenders with better blocks or whatnot. And I think he played against better guys this year. So all that kind of just goes into my analysis of it. What's interesting about Jaylen Mayfield is you may see somebody whoop Mayfield to the outside with speed, and you go, aha, he should play guard. But then I think if you line him up at guard, I don't think he's that powerful, imposing guy at guard. So it's a weird little place, right? So most guys want to put him at guard. You know, I like my guards to be powerful enough to dig people out of gaps, to deal with guys in one-on-one situations. I don't think Mayfield is that guy. So I like him much better at tackle. Honestly, if you asking me, I like Jalen Mayfield much better at tackle. It's just that sometimes some of those I forgot what game I was watching, but some of those quicker, twitchy guys can, get up on him pretty fast. I think it was Shaka Tony or something. Had a really interesting game against him from Penn State. Just allowed me to check on that, and I'll come back in the comments and let y'all know who it was exactly. But yeah, man, Jalen Mayfield, just I think he's a more solid player at tackle if you work on his feet. Then I think he'll be a much better player and a little more polished than Sam Cosmi. And of course, if he's more polished than Sam Cosmi, he's probably a little more polished than James Hudson. James is really raw, right? James Hudson is really raw. Sam Cosmi is really solid. I think Mayfield is good. He just got to worry about quick guys to the outside, but you can fix that. Who has no problem with quicker guys to the outside is Liam Eichenberg. Now, I think Liam Eichenberg got the same kind of power issues that Jalen Mayfield and Sam Cosmi and James Hudson got, right? I think he has that same issue dealing, or just being like a non-powerful dude. But what Liam Eichenberg has over them is he deals with power really, really well. To where you see Liam Eichenberg kind of get tossed around a little bit, but he knows how to drop his butt, bend his knees, and anchor so well, and he just gives ground slowly. Like, that's the proper technique. Like, if you are getting bull rushed and you just taking short steps backwards, that's getting beat quickly. What he does is he'll drop his butt, make his base real wide, and just pop and give ground slowly. That's the proper technique, and he does that the best out of all these guys. Some guys hit the floor when they deal with really, really good pass rush, good bull rush. Liam Eichenberg deals with that really, really well. Now, is he like a really physically imposing dude in the run game? Nah, not really, but neither are the three guys behind him or whatnot. I just think, once again, it came down to Liam being just a little more polished with his hand placement, a little more polished with his technique. Some people say that Liam Eichenberg is kind of boring to watch. Good. If you're an offensive line, if you're a casual O-line fan and O-line is boring to watch, then that just means that they're kind of doing their job right. You know what I mean? Now, I can see different nuances in the game, and I can really appreciate, what a guy like Liam Eichenberg, I can really appreciate what they do and not consider it boring. But if they have that level of consistency and that bores you, then it is what it is. Just don't expect him to pancake and move people or whatever. And you can say the same thing about Creed Humphrey, right? Creed Humphrey he's kind of here because of pedigree, right? Like when you're grading centers, then you have to bring in this brand new level of intelligence to the game. That's why Voch Lombardi was in my top 15 earlier or whatnot. But I first saw Creed Humphrey, he's been doing this since his freshman year, right? And he was on that best Oklahoma offensive line, that Ben Powers, Cody Ford, Bobby Evans, Drew Samia, like that line. He was on that line. And what I like about Creed Humphrey is I think he works well in multiple settings. He's another Senior Bowl guy. And what you saw from him was, okay, he's at the Senior Bowl. He can deal with these one-on-one situations. He's not the best at it, but he can deal with them. But in real life football, you don't always see those one-on-one situations. You had to see if a center can work within a unit. And what Creed Humphrey does within a unit, in my opinion, is greater than what Liam, Jalen, Sam, and James can do within a unit. You see what I'm saying? So in terms of reaching guys, come on, athleticism, get out of here. Reaching guys, comboing guys, setting up the offensive line, making calls, protections, things like that. Plus just being a super consistent blocker, dealing with turbulence, dealing with big, powerful people. He's a very solid, consistent offensive lineman. And if you get Creed Humphrey, do you start him day one? I think he's kind of going to give you that same vibe that we got from Bradbury from NC State. What was it, 2 years ago, right? To where, okay, he's really, really good in college. Okay, cool. Let's put him in the league. But then, there may be issues with power or whatever, right? So if I'm drafting Creed Humphrey, I'm drafting Creed with this plan that whoever I got playing center right now, they just kind of need to hang on tight because I need to give Creed Humphrey some of these peanut butter sandwiches and some of this powder, this muscle powder to mix in with his water so he can get bigger and stronger. But in terms of just a consistent player, just a polished player, just to kind of plug you in and just feel good about you kind of player, I think Creed Humphrey is that guy, in my opinion, for me. That's why he's my number, what was this, 11? 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. Yep, that's why Creed is my number 11 guy. Let me take a sip of water on this one. This is Alex Leatherwood, left tackle. Alabama. You know, it's interesting because people want to put him at guard. I don't want to put him at guard because I don't think he fits guard necessarily. You know, and I'm going to disagree with media people a whole bunch, but I'm vouching that's just kind of what I do, man. So my bad. But Alex Leatherwood is another guy that's going to work better within a unit than in one-on-one situations. You know what I mean? And the only nod that I give Leatherwood over Humphrey, Liam, and Jalen is that you do see power in Leatherwood. Does he always use it? Nah. Does he use it consistently? He could be better using it consistently. You know what I'm saying? But in terms of we're just looking at his length, looking at his feet, looking at his big boy movement, he has the ability to be great at all these things. And I think he's really, really solid at all these things, right? The problem is, this is my biggest problem with Leatherwood. Most of the times I grade guys based on their expectations. Or I grade them based on what the media scouts are saying. And they were saying that Leatherwood is going to be like a top 5 offensive lineman. Or just like like one of those top 10 guys or whatever. And when I first heard that, it gave me a little bit of disdain, man. I'm like, hey, man, Leatherwood ain't that kind of guy. But once the media scouts backed up a little bit and they say, okay, Leatherwood's probably going to be like a late first, early second round guy. Then I look at him and I go, yeah, that's fair. I go, that's cool. That makes a little bit of sense. So I'll take that. I'll take Leatherwood late first, early second, because he just fits better there. He's not going to be this elite offensive line prospect. He's another Senior Bowl guy. When you watch him in the Senior Bowl practices, Quincy Roche was just kind of whooping up on him. Now, I don't think that's always going to be the case, because if you watch the film of Alex Leatherwood, he can deal with these quicker guys. He plays in the SEC. He's gone against he's gone against quicker, top tier edge SEC talent for like 3 years now. I feel like we've been talking about Leatherwood, just not on an elite level. But we're talking about him being the 10th player, not like the 3rd overall player. Leatherwood's a cool player. I don't want to just plug him at guard for the hell of plugging him at guard. I don't think he fits there. So just as much as Leatherwood got beat up at the Senior Bowl practices, one guy that didn't get beat up at all was Dylan Radoons from North Dakota State. Very interesting, right? Because Dylan Radoons is like his last year's college film wasn't great. You know what I mean? Like his 2019 college film wasn't the best. And I was just looking at it, I'm like, okay, Dylan Radoons, he's a solid player, you know what I mean? But then you kind of dig into his 2020 tape and he got a little better. You go, okay, Dylan, you got better. And then right when you say you're North Dakota State and you're playing against these Rudy Poo kids, he goes to the Senior Bowl and starts smoking everybody at the Senior Bowl. And in my mind, you only good as your last fight. And that left a really good impression on me. Senior Bowl practices, and then he went into the game and he really tore it up. What's my man's name from Northern Iowa, I believe? Ellison Smith, the pass rusher, right? He was whooping everybody at the Senior Bowl. I'm like, damn, who's this dude? Ellison that's just whooping everybody. And y'all can watch my Senior Bowl breakdown video. It's on the channel somewhere. I'll link this at the end somewhere. But the only guy that was able to deal with Ellison was Dylan Radoons, right? So, like, man, if I just take his body of work, which is a good North Dakota State body of work, then I look at the 2020 film and I go, okay, that's cool. Then I look at what he did versus great competition in the Senior Bowl. I go, okay, that's big money. I'm taking Dylan Radoons. He's my ninth lineman altogether, and I'm not turning back. So last year, I was doing film on Derrick Brown, right? Derrick Brown from Auburn. He went to the Panthers, like 9th overall, 7th, 8th overall, something like that, top 10. And he was whooping up on the Florida kids, whooping up on the LSU kids, just whooping up on all the kids. I'm like, man, dog, Derrick Brown, D tackle from Auburn, this kid's crazy. But I'm like, let me go watch them versus Alabama, man. You know what I'm saying? They got some good kids at Alabama. So let's just see what happens at Alabama, right? And then this big humongous the big humongous, right, number 65, Derrick Brown Deontay Brown kind of lines up in front of Derrick Brown. I'm like, man, who is this big husky fellow that Derrick Brown is just going to use all of his quickness against? And then I see Deontay Brown pick his feet up quickly and start to move him. And I was like, oh. And then he puts hands on Derrick Brown. I say, and then he starts to move Derrick Brown. Something I had never seen nobody else do watching film on Derrick Brown. I say, damn, Deontay Brown, let's go. Then I watched some more film on Deontay Brown, right? Just not only, first of all, I can write down that, hey, I beat Derrick Brown. Draft me. You know what I'm saying? Like or rather, I had a good fight with Derrick Brown. I got plenty wins on Derrick Brown. If I put that in your scouting report, you should get drafted off of that alone. But then I watched just some other 2019 film. He looked pretty solid. He probably got in trouble last year or something. That's why he wasn't in all the games. But then I saw his 2021 film. Just him working with Landon and just working with Leatherwood or whatever, and just watching his feet got better. He's 365 pounds with light feet, ladies and gentlemen. They're probably going to make him lose like 20, 30 pounds when he gets to the league. I can only imagine that his feet and his movement going to get a little better. Power, just a big, nasty, physical movie dude. You know what I mean? Like if people criticize him, they'll say, well, Voch, I wouldn't use him in the outside zone scheme. I'm like, shit, why you can't? Why you can't? You can use them in a zone scheme. You can use them in a power scheme, whatever scheme you want to use them in. Now, like we're not running track, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I mean? Like we're not going to run screens every single play or nothing like that. But just play in, play out Deontay Brown. He's not consistent. He's not solid. He's just dope. He's great. You know what I mean? I think it'll be disrespectful to say that he's consistent. Like Creed Humphrey is consistent. Liam Eichenberg is consistent. Deontay Brown moves, gentlemen. Moves them. All your favorite players, all your favorite one techs get moved when big Deontay Brown get hands on them. I'm a big fan. That's why he's my number 8 guy. He should be a day 2 guy. He probably end up going day 3 because that's how, big guards go. He had a terrible Senior Bowl practice. Don't let me lie to you or like deflect or something like that. His Senior Bowl practices and his Senior Bowl game was terrible. But if I had to pick, one Senior Bowl game versus 23 incredible SEC games, you can weigh your pros and cons there. You know what I mean? You can weigh your pros and cons there. Moving on. Trey Smith. Let me take a sip of water on Trey Smith there. There's a lot of talking. I appreciate y'all for being patient. Y'all just vibe out to the music as I just take one more sip because I got great talk music. Just listen. All right, cool. Trey Smith. He's another Senior Bowl guy. Also, let me rewind and give my context, right? Dylan Radoons is ranked over Leatherwood because he's more consistent, and I saw him play really well against the big competition in the Senior Bowl or whatever. And you may say, well, Voch, but that excuse I just used for Derrick Brown, why didn't I use it versus Leatherwood? Like Leatherwood played against SEC guys. Why didn't I give him the nod over Dylan Radoons? Well, because I think Derrick Brown was better versus SEC guys than Leatherwood was. Like Leatherwood played against the SEC guys. Deontay Brown moved and smoked SEC guys, right? To where when I look at what Dylan Radoons' game tape was just a lot more consistent than Leatherwood's was. So context there. Now let me bring us to Trey Smith, who's another Senior Bowl guy, and like for everybody I say is a Senior Bowl guy, you can watch my Senior Bowl breakdowns on my channel or whatever. I did a couple of them. Trey Smith, he's gonna play guard and center. Center, guard, and tackle, or at least he can play those. And I think he's being projected as those. And I think he's being labeled as a guard. But I think that'll be pretty irresponsible of Trey Smith. I think if you or just irresponsible of whoever's drafting Trey Smith, I think you should let him shoot a shot at tackle and then let him play guard. I think really highly of him. If you go back to his 2018 tape, he had some pretty damn good tackle tape for Tennessee in 2018, but I don't know why they just decided that Trey Smith is just going to be a guard for us moving forward, but they just made that decision. They never turned back. Now, Trey Smith is a really, really good guard. Don't get me wrong, but he's also a really good tackle as well. You know what I mean? Now, if this was only guards, Deontay Brown would be a better guard than Trey Smith, but I think really highly of Trey Smith as a tackle. You know what I mean? I just think really, really highly of that. And, of course, you take the guy that can play tackle and guard at a high level over the dude that plays guard at a high level. You know what I'm saying? So that same SEC talent that Leatherwood was just kind of dealing with in the SEC, like Trey Smith was kind of putting hands on those same SEC guys. You know what I mean? If you look at just compare Trey Smith's 2018 tape to Leatherwood's 2018 tape. I think Leatherwood was out there doing some things in 2018, and you could just kind of match up and see how how they did versus different opponents or whatever. So he's going to be a guy that they're going to put inside and outside. I look at Trey Smith and I look at him as like a think about what Green Bay is doing with Eldon Jenkins. Remember Eldon Jenkins from Mississippi State or whatever? Like and this has been a really big talking point, like a really big media point for Eldon Jenkins, but he's played every single position. Trey Smith also. You can put him at left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle, put him wherever, and he'll be great there. And with that level of versatility, that's why I give the nod to Trey Smith. How long I've been talking? We had 20 minutes. Damn, boy, hang in there, y'all. Y'all doing great. Go get you a snack if you want to. We're doing great. I just really want to be transparent with this conversation. Really want to have the context. I just really want y'all to know my thoughts here. Elijah Vera Tucker is my number 6 guy. I see him getting mocked in like top 10 situations. I mean, I don't hate it. I don't super hate it, but I mean, he cool. He cool. I think he's going to be a full-time guard, even though he's a guy that can play tackle. Now, I haven't seen his 2020 tape because I haven't seen the all 22 of his tackle tape, which is his 2000. I think that's his 2020 tape. I haven't seen that or whatever. So I'm just I'm just looking at his guard tape from last year, and he has some really good guard tape from last year. But how I project it is I look at the splits, right? Like if you look at USC, what I mean splits is look at where the left tackle lines up and look at how far the left guard lines up from the tackle, then the center from the left guard at USC, and all that space you can basically project and see what he looks like as a tackle from the guard position because there's so much space between him and the tackle, right? But I think he's a powerful dude, good moving dude, good feet dude. I think if they played a little tighter, then I would like it a little better. I just hate having them guys so far apart. But I guess that's just a USC coaching decision or whatever. But Elijah Vera Tucker, man, I mean, solid player. So like he's another one of those really, really good that he's solid and you don't hear much about him kind of guy. You know what I mean? Where do I think he's better than Trey Smith? Now, this was an interesting conversation to me. First of all, I got Tucker and Trey Smith over Deontay Brown because Deontay Brown doesn't play tackle. They both play tackle and guard. Now, I think Trey Smith has some really, really good tackle tape. Vera Tucker has better guard tape than Trey Smith. You see what I'm saying? So if I'm just projecting, right? Plus, if I'm looking at how USC plays their guards and I'm looking at all that space in between and I can see what Vera Tucker as a tackle looks like, it looks like Vera Tucker has better feet than Trey Smith. So in my mind projecting, he can probably exist on an island better than Trey can. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. I hope I'm making sense. So even though I think Trey probably still can be a better tackle because I just think that highly of Trey, Vera Tucker is a better guard in my opinion. plus it just looks he just looks more athletic. He looks more consistent with his hands and his movement and his feet. So we're gonna give Elijah Vera Tucker that nod. Do I feel really great about it? Nah, because I think it's very close, and I think a lot of these conversations are very close. Like the Cosme Mayfield convo was very close. Mayfield Eichenberg was super close. I just think we got to have these conversations just so we're in the loop there. All right. Christian Daryson at number 5. I think somebody's gonna take him early. One of my draft crazy thing that can happen, projections or whatever. I think Daryson is gonna get drafted way higher than some of the other guys that may be ranked over him, because some team's gonna fall in love with his arm length. Some team is gonna fall in love with his production. And Daryson is a very, very talented football player. Daryson from Virginia Tech. He's a tackle. There's no guard in his life. Even though if he would be an interesting big ass guard, but he's a tackle. So he has solid tackle feet. He has great tackle strength. He has good tackle length, right? Good tackle consistency. This is my problem with Christian Daryson. I don't like to use the L word on my channel, right? Because these guys don't deserve that, you know what I mean? And I'm sure there's somebody in the chat box that's going to enlighten you on what the L word is. I think Christian Daryson is very L word, right? And I know this because I can look at Christian Daryson versus some dude at North Carolina, right? And you see slower feet, and you just see labored movement. You just see a galloping look, and you go, okay, Christian Daryson is not very much of an athlete. All right, cool. And then you watch Daryson versus Miami versus Roche, and Roche starts flying off the edge. You see Daryson giddy. He starts to giddy his ass up a little bit, and you go, damn, Daryson, you can move a lot better than I thought you could. And then he'll go back to that slower movement that he did in the North Carolina game and the Duke game. And you go, ugh. And I don't think it's consistency when it comes down to effort. It's the L word when it comes down to effort. He plays good competition, though. You know what I'm saying? He played both the Duke kids. He played against the Miami kids. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, he's played against the Carolina kids. Like he has some good names under his belt. You know, Daryson got some really good talent under his belt in the ACC in terms of like edge guys this year. But he's just so up and down with his movements, bro. And this really brings me to my next play. Let me go ahead and bring up the next guy while we're at it. First of all, he's top 5. Even though he's lazy, even though he's L word, he's so talented. He's so talented. If you can just get some fire under his ass, he could be one of the better guys in this draft. But L word drops him 2 or 3 spots. I think he's naturally better than Vera Tucker and Trey Smith. He's naturally better than those guys. This is my problem. Tevin Jenkins is my 3 guy, but I'm gonna get to him at some point. But okay, let's just say this: every guy in front of Daryson at this point is way more violent than him. So I'm not gonna say what order. I mean, it should be clear by now. But Slater, Sewell sometimes, but Slater, Sewell, Tevin Jenkins, Landon Dickerson are all more violent than Christian Daryson. Daryson should be like a top 2 or top 3 on my list somewhere. But when you see Daryson block people, he just kind of blocks them and then the play is just kind of over. When Landon Dickerson moves people, bodies hit the floor. When Tevin Jenkins move people, bodies hit the floor. Slater, Sewell, bodies hit the floor. I've only seen bodies hit the floor with Daryson is when they trip up and he just fall on people. And that's the upsetting part. Moving on to Landon Dickerson and why I think he's incredible. He's a center. He should be the first center off the board. I know he had an energy, but he had an injury. But I still take this dude. I take this dude first round, starting in the teens somewhere. I just think that highly of Landon Dickerson as a center. First of all, like a lot of guys try to hide centers or whatever. Like if you look at Creed Humphrey, Creed ain't small, but in context, Creed looked kind of small. Like if you put Creed next to Deontay Brown, he'll look small. And most centers look small next to Deontay Brown. Landon Dickerson next to Deontay Brown look as big as Deontay Brown. And Deontay Brown is a huge kid. Huge dude. Landon Dickerson, physical, strength, movement. Like, he makes those same plays, those same heads up calls. Leadership guy. Tore his ACL and said, "Coach, I can play." Excuse me? Tore his ACL and said, "Coach, I can play." I just think it's something crazy about that, dog. Like, if you watch Landon just go out there and just move, just strong. Like I said, a lot of people hide center, and people often end up playing center because they're smarter, or they're not as powerful as a guard would be, or they're not as talented or like foot talented as a tackle would be. Landon Dickerson can play guard. I'm not putting him in tackle because, like, National Football League is as high as a level as it can get. But I bet if you play Landon at tackle somewhere, I bet he can hold his own because I just trust his movement that well. But as a center, being a big, strong, smart center is 75% of the battle. Then being able to block without help, then being nasty enough to finish. Come on, son. Come on, son. Landon Dickerson is a top 5 offensive lineman in his class. He's number 4 on my list, man. He's a first round pick, man. First round pick. Somebody gonna ask, well, Voch, can you play him at guard? I would. I damn sure would. 100%, Mr. Wolf. Let's listen to some more music, sip some water while we wait on our next guy. Hold on. Drop them likes, man. I really appreciate y'all tuning in and hanging in there with me for this long ass video. But we're all about the details here. Tevin Jenkins, violence, man. Like I said, bro, when you watch Daryson, man, he just kind of block people and just leave you alone. If you watch my Tevin Jenkins video, it's I'll try to link it. I got plenty of O-line videos that I could be linking, but y'all need to watch my Tevin Jenkins video. Bruh took Joseph Osai all the way to the sideline, and when most people take a player to the sideline, like that's where it ends at. He took Joseph Osai to the student section. He tries to finish people every single play. Now they say Voch, Tevin Jenkins probably going to end up playing guard. I call bullshit. He can play guard, but I think he's going to be a really, really good tackle in the league. You know what I'm saying? Like, violence as an offensive lineman gets you over so far. You know what I mean? Talent-wise, is Daryson more physically talented than Tevin Jenkins? Tevin? Is it Trevin? Let me Google this real quick. Then Jenkins, right? Physically, let's see. Tevin Jenkins, my bad. I've been talking for a while. So physically, Daryson is more talented than Tevin Jenkins. But he kind of L-word, S-word. There's nothing L-word. There is nothing S-word about Tevin Jenkins. Bodies hit the floor every single time. Right? Not every single play, but he wants bodies to hit the floor every single time. You mix that up with some pretty good feet, some pretty good hands, pretty good hand fighting, right? I don't think he's a super long arm dude, but if you look at my OSI film, the Oklahoma guys, the Texas guys, they'll try to long arm Tevin Jenkins. Like, he's played against some longer opponents. But how you defeat arm length advantage is with hand fighting, right? Hand fighting and leveraging and all that kind of little stuff. He's good at getting those hands off of him immediately, winning the hand fight battle, then getting his engagement, right? Then getting his leverage. Then he driving, and then he just smoking the hell out of people, dog. Like, Tevin Jenkins is definitely one of my favorite guys, and he's 100% worthy of his top 3 spot. I've talked about these top 2 guys at nauseum, so I mean, I ain't got to go too long about them. But Penei Sewell, very interesting. I'm gonna drop a separate video about Penei Sewell and what his pro day means to me. But Penei Sewell was always a guy that was gonna be O-line number 2 since I've been watching film this year. He was always a guy that's gonna be O-line number 2. Now I know that they're gonna throw around a stat, but Voch, PFF says Penei Sewell only gave up 2 pressures his entire career. Well, I believe that because, Oregon threw a lot of RPOs. They threw a lot of quick throws. And you know what? To be fair, that's why people got Justin Herbert wrong. That's why I also got Justin Herbert wrong. I'm like, man, they doing nothing but throwing bubbles and slants in his offense. In real life, Justin Herbert was able to throw the ball downfield and shit. You know what I mean? We just never saw it because of how Oregon called offense. So you can probably chalk up the lack of pressures that Penei Sewell gave up to, man, they didn't hold the ball long enough to get pressure. Not saying Penei Sewell is bad. Just saying that that's something that you got to think about before you go around throwing PFF stats, right? Now, what you do in college ain't going to be what you do in the National Football League. We have to make these adjustments. We got to make these projections, right? When we look at Penei Sewell, I say put him at guard year one because I know that at tackle, he's going to have some problems with his feet. Or at least in his 2019 film, he had problems with his feet. He had problems with his hands. He had a little bit of problems with his consistency. That's fine. When you're a young player, you have those. Voch, can you really make an assessment of Sewell just based on some 19-year-old tape? Yes, because that's all the damn tape I got. He should have played football as a 20-year-old if you wanted me to evaluate that. You see what I'm saying? So me not knowing what Penei Sewell did I don't know what he did to improve over this offseason or whatever, just going based on his film. He need to work on his hands and his feet. But you can at least play him at guard because I know he can whoop people in the phone booth right now because he's strong. He's naturally big. He's naturally gifted in that way. You know what I'm saying? And then the reason why my number one guy is my number one guy because everything Penei Sewell needs to get better at, Rashawn Slater got right now. Rashawn Slater would be good at right now. And it's interesting, when the Pro Day numbers came out, Rashawn Slater was a little faster than Sewell and a little quicker than Sewell and a little stronger than Sewell. Now, do I think that translates, directly into like the game or whatever? I don't know. Sewell probably plays a bit stronger. I don't know. But then again, Rashawn Slater probably plays with a little more patience because, he doesn't play strong as Penei Sewell because he doesn't have to attack people with 120% because he's more methodical. He's more technical. You know what I'm saying? R.I.P. Black Phillip, right? This analogy was Penei Sewell, if he had to kill a village, he walks in with machine guns, grenade launchers, and he destroys the whole village. But Rashawn Slater crawls around the bushes with a knife in his mouth, and he slowly picks off that village, right? Both kill the whole village, but they both do it differently. Plus, if I'm Rashawn Slater, I got Chase Young on my resume. There's plenty of people that say, well, Voch, you can't just say, oh, well, Chase Young is the reason why, the Chase Young game is the reason why he's tackle number one. It's not. Him beating Chase Young isn't the only reason. But he's really good versus the Michigan kids, the Michigan State kids. He's really good against anybody he's ever played against. But then when you cut on the damn Ohio State game, you go, damn, dog, he just whooped everybody. Now then he beats Chase Young. Meanwhile, Penei Sewell's having problems with the Utah kids. He's having problems with the Stanford kids. That's not to say, or with the USC kids. J2 Filile, him and J2 Filile met at the line of scrimmage, and neither one of them used their hands, and they didn't know what to do with each other. It was interesting, Not saying Penei Sewell's a bad player because he's my number 2 guy on my list. I'm just saying that everything he has to work on, he ain't better than Slater. Why is he better than Jenkins? Because I think he's more naturally gifted than Jenkins. He's more naturally gifted than Daryson. Hell, if he had to line up and play center, Penei Sewell would be better than Landon Dickerson. But that's just how I feel. All right, y'all. This was a long-ass video, but it was very, very necessary. So I ain't going to hold y'all too long. I did my plugs at the beginning of the video simply because I knew that this is what the vibes were. All right? Y'all hold down for the Doski, Wolski, Peasky, Whiskey, man. Till next time. Salute. Peace.